Hello, my name's Anthony and I'm one of the Pathfinders leaders at St Peter's Church. Welcome to this week's edition of Youth Online 2.0. As ever, we're going to start with a bit of a game and I need the help of a Pathfinder with this one. Zoe. Right, we're going to look at some pictures of people that normally wear protective clothing for some activity or other. We're going to have a think about what they're wearing and how that keeps them safe. So, here's the first picture. Zoe. What is that?
It's an ice hockey player.
Ice hockey player, okay. So what are they wearing?
Padding to stop being injured.
Stop being injured, and how does that keep them safe? What's flying around when you play?
From the puck.
From the puck that's flying around really fast. Okay, right, so that's the first one. Good, have you got one for me? Okay, so that's a motorcyclist and they're wearing like leather outfit and a really good helmet on the top there. So I guess that keeps them safe in case they fall off, then they're less likely to get hurt by the road, aren't they? Or maybe other cars and keep their heads safe. Okay, here's the next one.
It's a policeman.
So that's a policeman. What's the policeman wearing?
Stab-proof vest.
A stab-proof vest, okay, and does that keep them safe?
Yes, from being attacked or from criminals.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, cool. Right, we've got another one. What's that one? Rock climber. Okay, so they're wearing a helmet plus some special rock climbing shoes and lots of ropes. Very sensible, I think, if you're rock climbing. So that's going to keep them safe, isn't it, from falling, I guess. And again, if they fall and if they hit their head, then their helmet's going to keep them safe from hurting their head. Now, do we think any of these people are courageous, or any of them showing courage in what they're doing? What do you think, Zoe?
Yeah.
Which one? Any of them?
All of them.
Which one? Any of them in particular?
Being brave.
They're all being brave, aren't they? But I think probably this one in particular, this policeman who puts himself in harm's way, is probably being quite courageous, isn't he? Yeah. So we're going to have a think about this during today's session. But just before we do, there's a final question. So this, what's this a picture of?
Free climber.
That's a free climber. So that's somebody who climbs rocks and mountains without any kind of ropes. And I think they're probably showing quite a lot of courage when they do that. So you might want to have a think about whether a free climber or somebody, where's your picture of the roped? Yeah, or somebody that's roped up when they're rock climbing, whether this one or this one has more courage. First up, we've got our reading taken from Acts 27 and read by Ethan.
This is Acts 27 verses 13 to 26 from the Message. When a gentle southerly breeze came up, they weighed anchor, thinking it would be smooth sailing. But they were no sooner out to sea than a gale-force wind, the infamous northeaster, struck. They lost all control of the ship. It was a cork in the storm. We came under the lee of the small island Clauda and managed to get a lifeboat ready and reef the sails, but rocky shoals prevented us from getting close. We only managed to avoid them by throwing out drift anchors. Next day, out on the high seas again, and badly damaged now by the storm, we dumped the cargo overboard. The third day, the sailors lightened the ship further by throwing off all the tackle and provisions. It had been many days since we had either sun or stars. Wind and waves were battering us unmercifully, and we lost all hope of rescue. With our appetite for both food and lifelong gone, Paul took his place in our midst and said, "Friends, you really should have listened to me back in Crete. We could have avoided all this trouble and trial, but there's no need to dwell on that now. From now on, things are looking up. I can assure you that there will not be a single drowning among us. Although I can't say as much for the ship itself is doomed. Last night, God's angel stood at my side, an angel of this God I serve, saying to me, 'Don't give up, Paul. You're going to stand before Caesar yet, and everyone sailing with you is also going to make it. So, dear friends, take heart. I believe God will do exactly what he told me, but we're going to shipwreck on some island or other.'"
Thank you to Ethan for reading that passage for us. I wonder if you've ever found yourself in a situation like that of Paul and the crew of that ship. Okay, so it's unlikely that you've actually been out on a ship when a terrible storm arrives and then spent the next few days convinced you're going to die. It's quite a frightening prospect, really, isn't it? But what about other situations that seem impossible to get through? Maybe it's a bit of homework that you've been putting off. Maybe it's this period of lockdown and not being able to see family or friends. Maybe you're finding that really hard. Maybe it's something that you said you'd do to raise money for a charity, like a parachute jump or a run or a swim or a bike ride or something. And when it actually came down to doing it, you really didn't think you'd be able to. What did you do in those situations? Panic? Cry? Run away? All of those are perfectly reasonable responses to challenging situations. But in our story read by Ethan, Paul didn't panic. He didn't cry out for help, and he didn't run away. He listened to God and had courage in what God said. God told Paul that he would make it, that the crew would make it, and that they would all survive the terrible storm that their ship was in. What tremendous courage Paul showed in that situation, listening to God and having faith that God would look after them. We're going to talk more about this in our Pathfinders and Discovery sessions tonight, so do come and join us if you aren't already on the call. 6:30 p.m. for Pathfinders and 7:30 p.m. for Discovery. I look forward to seeing you there.